couple of years ago, a Category 1 pollution incident occurred upstream, and all these toxins came running down, killed all the fish in the lake. There's a news thing coming out about that. It's taken a while for it to come out, but yeah, so there's no fishing anymore. So the business here was a fishing lake, and it was actually held up as an exemplar of how you can have a kind of, have anglers, but actually be an example of it restoring the ecosystem at the same time. So there was an article that came out in some angling publication about that, and then it was a few months later that all the fish died. It was quite a traumatic event, just hundreds and then thousands of fish within 48 hours just floating and having to be pulled out. See, this looks like murky, right? It looks like when you sort of dilute PVA glue in water. I mean, you see how much clearer it is here from these reeds, but look at it that side. So that's bioremediation happening live time there.
Yeah, it's quite a good representation if you look at the...
So these are the kinds of things that we've had to start implementing. I mean, it was happening anyway, but given the pollution thing, it's like we need to be quite intentional with this stuff. Give it context. So there were eels in the stream that crawled out of the water because it was that toxic and then just died on the side. There was we tested, there was things like arsenic. We're not talking like agricultural runoff. This is like commercial chemical nasties. We'll see. I mean, what we found is that we've been speaking to all the authorities, and somebody described it as being a polluter's charter. What we've realised 2 years down the line is that we thought we were calling in the cavalry, and actually we need to be the cavalry in our community. So if we can fix this nastiness, it creates a kind of route map, a road map in whereby communities can engage and clean up waterways all over the place. That's the hope. As I say, very low flow rate, but it's like it runs clear, like you can see the bottom.
It's very different, isn't it?
And then just over there where it meets the other one, yeah, the stark difference is there today. Completely clear there. And then it joins into this murky...
Other.
Yes.
We'll just call it other, shall we?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't actually look so bad right now. We haven't had any rain. It's when it rains, you get all the sediment and all the other stuff running down. Sometimes we get this it's like an orange scum floating down, settling. Everywhere there's one of these little dams, it kind of collects up. Yeah, which is grim.
So for anyone watching, I do actually do work as well as not just talk of things.
Yeah.
So we are going to
We walk the walk as well as
we walk the walk as well as talk the talk. So when I spoke to Michael recently about coming up and doing a little demo with him, I wanted to see if we could just do a little green waste Bokashi pile here to show what can be done, etc. And he said, yeah, sure, we'll get everything together. He's now left me with probably the hardest thing to do as a Bokashi, but hey, we'll always have a go with these things.
This is it. I thought if we're going to put it to the test,
might as well do it properly, haven't we? Yeah.
And it is a plant that I did need to get off the cottage. It was like taking over.
Yeah.
So it solves multiple issues if it works.
Yes. So
when it works.
It's all right. It's okay. Well, there's always a story of these things. So, so just to explain what we're doing here, we're just literally chopping up to smaller pieces. So Bokashi process is slightly different to composting because what you put in equals what you get out. So if we can make it smaller, we'll give more surface area for microbes to do the work, because we're going to actually add microbes to the system. So yeah, it's just a process of kind of just processing it as best you can. Don't be too worried about like exact sizes. So if bits are bigger than others, just remember that, obviously there's going to be less surface area. And the key thing with this is that when you're processing it, time is the key thing. So we always say with green waste Bokashi, you're looking at between 8 and 12 weeks to have something you can use. But this is a good example. There we go. That's
going to take a bit longer.
That is definitely going to take a little bit longer. But, and I say this to anyone that does this kind of process, actually in nature, this will be the same concept. So actually having a little bit of bigger stuff and smaller stuff also helps as well.
It's definitely good. I think there's a leaning towards that uniformity, we want it all fine and fibrous, but actually, like you say, in a natural system, you want little bits of structure being held by bigger bits of material.
Yeah.
It will be completely, pre-digested. It's not going to be like a kind of woody sauce that's robbing nitrogen. It's just going to be holding a bit of structure.
Yeah, and what we're doing here is we're processing a tiny bit just to show you obviously how to do it. But actually, the great thing about this is we're going to create a windrow. So this is going to go as long as we really like, to be honest, as far as we can. But with what we have here, we have quite a woody kind of structure in that. We have got some wood chip, which we're actually soaking at the moment, just to give it a bit more moisture content. As I said, microbes don't have legs, so they need some way of moving around. But don't be disheartened if you haven't got enough greens and browns. Just remember that it's going to take a bit longer. So the longer you leave it, the more Mother Nature will get involved. So ground contact, I would say, is near enough vital. It's like it's the most important part of this really is to let the nature do the work for you. And as you know, with worms, if they find a food source they like, they'll come. They'll naturally come
and multiply.
And multiply as well. So I'm hoping as well when we finally can reveal this and to a point where it's done something, it will also help with the soil structure underneath.
Which would be good here because it's not great.
So what we're also going to do is we're going to cut a bit of grass. If I carry on with that, do you mind just grabbing the
Get the grass.
Very efficient mower? Do you want to just do like a line here, and we might as well just process it here. So the reason why we're using grass is a really good carbon to nitrogen ratio, so it will help with that process. What Michael hasn't told me is that he hasn't got a collector, so we're going to have to.
Haven't got a collector or mains power up here, so we've got this old school.
All old school.
And the grass is quite long, so it's not the easiest to mow.
So we've decided we're just going to make a massive soup out of all this lot. So it's probably like for me, this is probably the best way of doing it anyway. So we've got wood chip with the active firm already in it. We've got some grass clippings, we've got some ivy, etc. And we're literally going to mix them together like that. So coverage is key with this, apart from the snail, which we'll save. So we're going to try and mix it together so we get a good combination of greens and browns together. I mean, obviously this is quite labour intensive, but it will definitely give you a really good product at the end of it. The other thing to bear in mind is that because the way that Bokashi works is that anything weed seed or anything negative as we would see as humans in this process is a low pH, so it will suppress those weed seeds, etc. We did a trial with the Lost Gardens of Halligan with oxalis, and we were able to see after the process, at the end of the process, we were looking at a maximum of 10% growth rate with oxalis. So yeah, really impressive for what it can do for weed seeds. Normally with weed seeds you would have to use a thermophilic system within an inch of its life, but even with that we know that from council compost that's not necessarily always true, is it?
No.
Doesn't always get rid of a weed seeds, etc.
Look at that.
So
Sure, watch you right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
He says just making sure the mic's not going in there.
Just bringing it up from the bottom.
Yeah, get the wood chip from the bottom. So the good thing with doing it this way is that if you were doing it in a situ, like maybe on a border or something like that, you can do this in situ. So you can actually do it as a cut and drop system. So my friend Sophie at Chatsworth House, that's what she does with most of her piles.
Right.
She just cuts and drops it.
Just chops it and then sprays
just makes
on.
it. But she doesn't use tarpaulin or anything like that. She uses straw.
Okay, just mulches over.
It just mulches over top. It takes a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But the key thing with this is really moisture content, ground contact,
Yeah.
and then just make sure it is well mixed. So we are literally going to just tip it onto ground, and we'll give it a bit more of a mix. So this is probably a super small pile.
Yeah.
But it will do what it needs to do.
Yeah, so interesting. And I can always chop up the rest and get some more wood chip and do the same again and make it longer.
Yep. So what we're going to do now, we'll put some lettuce all on top. Give that a little bit of a mix in there as well. Just a little pimp it out a bit more.
Pimp my pile.
Pimp my pile. Oh, this is going to be good. So the only thing to bear in mind when you're doing this is that if you're using dry wood chip, it's going to soak up that moisture very quickly. So you just need to make sure the moisture content is okay. So we've got an old tumbler we're going to use to just pop on the top, and all we're going to do is just cover over the top, and we'll get some stones, put them around the side, and that's it. That is your pile.
That's it. Cool. Well, for now, I might just sit that back on top of it until we find those. Nice.
So this will not be hard to do because we've already had a conversation years and years ago.
We've had many.
We've had many conversations. So please, Michael, introduce yourself to our video today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Michael Kennard. So founded Compost Club, which is a sort of circular economy, food waste collection and processing and kind of living composting producer. And now regenerative farmer at this place called Melora Farm at Furnace Brook. Yeah, I think that's probably a sufficient introduction.
So we've known each other probably 5 years, maybe 6 years now.
About 6, I reckon now.
6 years,
Yeah.
Riley. So I saw you in your early stages of Compost Club and etc. So can you just give us a bit of background of how you got not to here, but especially the Compost Club side, and your kind of background?
Yeah, so my background was in construction. I was an electrician, doing various things in that field, to the point where I was doing like whole property renovations and all that stuff, like but domestic installer, I suppose, boring stuff. But yeah, just normal upbringing, big family in the middle of Brighton. My dad was one of 10 kids, so I've got loads of cousins and aunties and uncles. Everyone's very kind of straight. You get a trade, get a nice car, get a house, all of that stuff. And I kind of like snapped out of that one day. And the big thing, I suppose, was firstly finding out that we don't have to, because our thoughts are like shaped by our language, so we don't have to minimise our footprint and reduce our impact. We can seek to live regeneratively, and actually then your footprint's your legacy, and the more you do the better it is. So you have an impact, but it's a good one. So that was a real paradigm shift for me, just learning that was even a possibility. Went through education system and no one talks about that. They teach us all sorts of stuff, but nothing really useful. And so there was that, and then finding out that my little boy was going to be born. He's just about to turn 7, so the journey was started really about 8 years ago. I thought, how do I best exemplify having that positive impact?
Yeah, and your interpretation of the world changes when you become a parent.
Yeah. Well, it's even before he arrived. I basically wanted to be able to demonstrate, because I did a deep dive into like brain development and child psychology and found that you can tell kids all you want, but really they're learning by what you exemplify. What would have evolutionarily been their like tribe of influence, but nowadays it's mostly parents and immediate families. So I thought, how do if I want my kids to have a positive impact, I need to demonstrate doing so. So initially that was a market garden, and I called it my regenerative market garden. I wanted to demonstrate producing abundance, but building and improving soil. The beginnings are now of what I call soil first farming. So instead of trying to feed the carrot or the cow, you're a microbe farmer, building soil, healthy and abundant plants, fruits, vegetables, animals, human beings, biosphere happens as a result of that foundational work. But so many people that are land stewards ignore the foundation, and so they're building shaky houses that will not stand.
And it's soil fertility. I mean, I've just finished a course with Josh Sparks, and he's really kind of understanding that soil facility and actually, there is tools that we can give nature to help with that process. And compost for me has evolved over the years as a way of being able to process probably more human interaction than nature interaction. And I feel that is something that, as a farmer or someone that's grown, I think that's a really important thing to understand, is that as humans we've created this impact, but it doesn't fit with the nature ecosystem at the moment. And hopefully in the future, that will change.
Yeah, we are nature.
We are nature.
We are nature, and composting is the best way for us to connect directly back into that, and a beautiful way. I mean, we talk about recycling, and you can kind of, glass, plastic, paper, all these things, and usually of metal, it's becoming worse each time, and it's like downcycling. But with composting, we have this unique opportunity to take any organic material, and because we're harnessing natural systems, we're literally, if we do it properly, creating life force and improving the thing. You can take what we call waste, which doesn't exist in the natural world. It's a human idea, it's a terrible idea. So we can take that resource actually and cycle it responsibly into the thing that brings life. And the world is a self-generative system in the same way that our bodies are. If we don't cover it and fill it with poisons, essentially, it kind of cleans itself, and the world is just the same. So I think like composting is just like the thing.
So how did you get from being an electrician to composting? Because I mean, it's quite a shift in dynamics in respects to what you've done for the rest of your life.
Well, as I say, I got to the point where I was market gardening, and in doing that, I got really degraded soil, which I welcomed. I wanted to demonstrate taking that from that compacted clay horse pasture to really productive market garden. I went through a process of buying in different types of compost, and I asked all the usual kind of experts, what's the best compost? And this is 8 years ago. I would ask different people now. And everything I tried just intuitively to me felt dead, sterile, often smelled like oil. This can't be it, right? So I started to deep dive, as I do, out of brain development and child psychology, and then vegetable growing, into soil biology, learning about the soil food web, learning about fertility, learning about geology and all of that stuff, and just found that good compost at that time didn't exist. Like you couldn't, like now you can Google living compost, living soil, and stuff comes up. There was nothing then, not that I could find, and I wouldn't even know the term to search for it. So I thought, well, I just need to make it. And so Compost Club came from a necessity to actually, the onus was, well, if I'm going to regenerate the soil properly, I need to be making the compost and cultivating these microbes. And that's what compost does. You're cultivating soil biology, and if you do it well, you're doing it very well. So that became the thing. And then lockdown hit, the COVID times. And at the time I was doing the market garden alongside trade work, that all stopped. And so it became a kind of this little window of opportunity, really, which feels weird to say of such a strange time, but...
No, I 100% agree with that. My journey was exactly
a lot of people, it was a very negative thing, and people lost people, so I'm always sensitive around it. But for me, it was like this sort of tangible, transient period, and I thought, well, maybe I could really quite radically shift. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, so I thought, well, let's make Compost Club a thing. I can go to people's houses and they leave a bucket outside. There's no
interaction. No.
Yeah, and so it's like safe. I'm driving around on my own collecting. So that became a thing, and then that got so busy that I didn't have time to do the market garden and that. So I didn't go back to the trade work, and then actually handed over the market garden. I just felt like, because I was on this sort of, and I'm still on it, like this quest for maximising a positive impact. And so the more people you can reach, the better. And I felt like there was a limit to the amount of veg boxes I could produce on this little patch. But with Compost Club, I was reaching far more people, and particularly online, it seemed to like strike a chord. So I was just like, well, that's where I've got to go. That's where I've got to focus my energy. And so that became the thing that I did. And then I was getting increasingly increasingly asked to speak to growers and farmers about this stuff, and I could tell, still can sometimes, this look of, who are you telling us? Or sometimes explicitly after a talk, a farmer would come up and say, well, who are you telling me about soil? I've been farming, I'm a third generation farmer, all this stuff. So I thought, I need to demonstrate it. Like with the kids, I need to demonstrate it. And so that's why I enrolled on this Becoming a Regenerative Farmer training, and that's what's brought me here to this farm.
But I think that the key thing to understand is that if you went on your social media journey, which is where I found you, obviously from a farmer's point of view, this urban, Brighton area guy who thinks he knows better is now telling me that I'm doing things wrong.
Well, I'm mindful never to say that.
And that's the key thing I was just going to say, is that I don't feel that you've ever said you've ever done anything wrong. And actually, I don't think you've ever said that you can do better. It's just giving people the tools to when they're ready to explore these things. And one thing that you've learnt with myself is that when I was very naive when I first started, I remember our first conversation, and you opened my eyes up to a world that I didn't even understand. And one thing that resonated that you said to me was, you don't eat, microbes eat. And I was like, oh yeah, I do vaguely remember that at school, like something to do with microbes and etc. But yeah, it's obviously from the evolution of Compost Club, we are now here. So how did that happen?
Well, I just live when people ask my job, I just say I live and work in service to soil. Because soil is the foundation of life. It's where the atmosphere and the bedrock interface, and it's what happens on the surface of the earth. It's where it all happens, really. 59% of known species live in soil, and it's actually more. They're just the ones we know about. We keep finding new ones. Because of gravity, that's where we happen. Like, we coexist. We're not separate. We're actually walking, talking ecosystems. It's called a holobiont. So there's the holobiome. We're a host organism. But if you run eDNA on me, I'm mostly other things. It's really good for the ego. Like, most of this isn't me. So I can say all these wonderful, impressive things. It's mostly not me. It's just surrender to that. So I kind of live in this world where I'm very just open, and I'm directed very much by intuition. And so, like the farm, the opportunity was, would you come and design the farm and then just live here and then do it, manifest it? And I immediately, I turned to my wife and she was smiling. So I was like, I think I can say yes to that. Like, if something feels right, I just jump. And at the beginning, I was very afraid of that. So when I left my trade work, it's very secure, very well paid, to start this little market garden and then collect people's waste and make compost. I didn't know if I was even going to be able to make rent. But what I've learned is that if what you're doing feels right intuitively, and it makes sense ecologically, all these things, socially, if you're brave enough to jump, the universe will catch you, is what I've always said. And the more you do it, if it's right, you find it keeps happening. And so now, it's not even brave anymore. It's like I'm a frog jumping on lily pads, if you like. So I just keep going, and new things.
Better, personally.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
The universe has definitely put some things in my way on purpose.
Oh, well, that's an upgrade. That's why, like, whenever there's tough times, and it's not all blessed, like, there are tough times, but what I've learned to do, instead of wallowing, which I used to do, I look around, and maybe not literally, but, it could be a thought process, but, like, what's the upgrade here? What am I learning? Where's the gold? I will get through this, and it's going to be all great. And it always does. And often, when I talk about this stuff, sometimes people allude to maybe an air of privilege, but just for context, I grew up in Molscoombe, which is on the edge of Brighton, is still now one of the 100 poorest... Sorry, I'm distracted by that beautiful buzzard there. Is it a buzzard or a red kite?
It's a buzzard.
It's a buzzard, yeah. Sorry, I grew up in what is still now in the 100 poorest districts in the UK. Had like a sort of meal pass. My parents separated when I was young. Very humble beginnings. And in terms of education, people always assume that I went to university. I never went to near university because I'm not obedient enough. So the obedience training that the mainstream education system didn't work for me. So I went to college for a bit. I was bright enough. but it was just not engaging enough, not stimulating enough. So I dropped out of college. I lasted from the summer till the December, and everything I've learnt since is kind of learning because I'm interested in it, and I learn it myself or find teachers. So I always say to people like me, from my background, and the majority of my family is probably, I hope they won't mind me saying, but an example of this, like, you're not supposed to think you can change the world. You're supposed to exist in your lane, and I've been told that explicitly by lots of them actually, but I don't anymore. My lane, there's no lane. I believe that you can change the world very easily. It's the belief that you can that does it actually.
And that's the driver for me personally. Is I appreciate I work for a company. You know, it's obviously, you know, someone's got to pay my wages, etc. But one thing that my boss Andrew Sincock has definitely given me is the tools to just push those boundaries a bit. Now sometimes I do have to think, because obviously I still have my corporate badge on. So, but it's nice to be able. Still the rebel. Yeah. And funny enough, this was something that my boss didn't know I was doing.
Oh, really?
I just did, yeah. And
Nice.
he was like, yeah, that suits your personality quite a lot at the moment.
Yes, yeah, does exactly what it says on the tin.
It does exactly what it says on the tin. So yeah, and this is where I felt that I wanted to show people, you know, that kind of journey with you, because what resonated with me was I'm very similar to yourself. I didn't fit in the right moulds. I had a public school upbringing. Without my public school upbringing, I wouldn't be the man I am now. 100%. It wasn't the right thing. It was just, you know, it was that nature or nurture kind of journey that I had. My background from my family wasn't great, and you know, they gave me the tools to be able to create that structure. But trying to break that structure now is really, really hard, because in the back of my mind is that security and stuff. So if you were going to give someone's a piece of advice in respects to, you know, that gut feeling of doing stuff, because, you know, I'm probably at that stage, very similar stage at the moment. I've been able to let the universe kind of guide me in the right direction, but I'm still got that hold of, you know, just making sure that I'm going to be okay. Yeah. What would you give people
one hand
advice?
on the safety cord.
Yeah. What was that kind of euphoric moment of? And I appreciate probably the kids, you know, help with that journey.
I call it the inspiration of desperation. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Do things that are scary.
Yeah.
Let go of the safety cord. If it's the right thing, like I say, you'll get caught.
Yeah.
Like in a good way.
Yeah.
Not always. Not everything works, of course. But I think it depends what you're trying to do and what you're trying to do it for. Like I say, I'm not, and maybe to my own detriment, I don't go at anything going, what's the return on this? I go, what's the positive impact of this? And a friend of mine, John Liu, who's a filmmaker, he's the guy that brought me here actually. Interesting, I live around the corner from here. I didn't know this place was here, and it took a guy in Beijing calling me and saying, you got to come to this place. He founded Ecosystem Restoration Communities, and he puts it very eloquently. The thing that I kind of feel is like, if you have the intention and the determination, those are the things that actually create real impact. And if they're right and you're clever, the finances kind of come. And it's not, in my experience, it's not life-changing finances, but it gets you by. And I'm very much like, I'm not into, like I used to be, very much into what shoes I had, what clothes I wore, what car I drove. Like, I couldn't care less about. As long as I can get around and I have clothes, that'll do. As long as I have enough. Like, I was constantly asking myself, like, when is enough enough? And actually, it seems like maybe it's at least in a certain number of people, it's never enough. Like the collecting numbers in a bank account seems to get an addiction, and I don't think it's healthy. And I think people forget that we are nature. And
also, life is too short.
We're here for such a temporary amount of time, right? Was it someone heard the other day? We're just an aperture that the universe is looking through for a little while, each of us.
Yeah.
And there's all these own little perspectives, but if you just kind of remind yourself of that, it's like, you know, I'm not here forever. There's people going around destroying the place, collecting stuff in the idea that they're going to be around forever, or that, oh, well, I'll pass it down and my successor. It's like, just relax. We're all one thing, right? It would serve everybody if we all looked after each other and the planet. That would be us all looked after. It doesn't help if you've got all this stuff, you then start to need to build walls and protection because you've got all the stuff. And we're getting to the ends of all of that, I think, in that there's lots of systems unravelling or collapsing, and food scarcity is predicted in like 4 years and stuff. It's pretty scary. So, I mean, Buckminster Fuller says, you need to create the new system that will succeed the old one, rather than just... I spent a lot of years like engaged in politics and writing letters and going on marches and asking for things, and it's too slow and it's reactionary. What will happen is system collapse will happen, and then they'll go, oh, we need to fix something. But what we can do is go, well, we know that's happening, that's going to happen. Let's produce more food, let's do it locally, let's regenerate the soil. Let's not wait until we run out of topsoil and there are no more harvests. Let's fix it now.
I saw that you've started to do some stuff with the Farmer's Guardian. There was a social media post, and it was about children and the soil, etc. Could you just tell us a little bit about what your direction is with that? Yeah,
so it's increasingly I'm being asked to be like an ambassador of things, which feels very nice. So I do some stuff for the Soil Association, and this is the most recent version of that. This is called Soil Ed. And so the idea is that they're working at kind of top level, which is not where I'm comfortable, but I'm letting them do that, around getting into education a connection to soil, whether that be food growing, visiting farms, understand it. Because it's not going to be too long. Enough people already know about it, but the tech will come where we'll be able to measure nutrient density of food, and the disparity is massive. And so the consumer will be armed with this thing, and they'll go, beep, that's 40 times the antioxidants in this carrot than this one. I'll buy this one, right? And so we need a connection to nature, and it doesn't have to be all around food growing. It's like, just walk in the woods. I mean, you touch healthy soil and your brain chemistry changes, like literally. So for me, it's why part of the reason for wanting to get on the farm and be able to facilitate education here is that I can teach people the kind of the intellectual understanding of soil science and composting, but to do it somewhere where I'm doing it and practicing it, it can become a felt thing. And I think that there's a difference between people that understand things intellectually, they do lots of talking shops and lots of reports, but they don't really do anything. People that feel something, like I feel this, I'm doing something, and there are other people who feel it and they're doing something. So I think we need to, and if we can do it with young people, all the better, the earlier the better. If we can go from understanding things to feeling the things, if you can reach a kid in a way that they feel a connection to nature and soil and they understand it, and I can show soil to people, adults or kids, where we look at the microbes in it. They're amazing little characters. We create compelling narrative and story around that and what they're doing, rather than just being boring science. I've got like a microphone that plunges into the soil. We can listen to them, so we can suddenly see and hear and engage with these things that at the moment people don't even know it's there.
Yeah, Alex from Generation Soil showed me his good cool kit, and it's just do you know what he's actually made? I'm sure it's on Spotify. He's made a 12-hour playlist.
Has he?
Yes.
I've not seen that.
Lee, my graphic designer, remind me to put a link in the bio
the sound of soil.
For Sound of Soil.
Yeah, or a little overlay of sound now.
But yeah, it's just amazing to hear, what people wouldn't want to understand sometimes, because actually, the whole thing about living soil, it does scare people though. I mean, we say it's a positive, but there is that ick factor, when it comes to a worm and stuff. And I think
that's why you got to get people early.
And this is it. The kids don't mind picking up a worm because it's got that ooh factor. One
of my favourite things is passing around a room of school kids a pot of Bokashi, and half of them go, some of them go, oh, what is that? It's great fun. And those kind of moments they remember and they have an impact. And there's a big thing around if you don't know it, or you don't see it, or you don't hear. Like, if you don't know something, you can't love it.
No.
You can't protect it. And I think we've forgotten that we are nature and we don't experience it in a way that impacts us anymore. Generally speaking, lots of people do, but a majority of people, I think, it's safe to say, don't.
So
we need to reach those people.
Yeah, so we're doing a project with Hereford Council at the moment to hopefully get more schools involved in composting. So we've got one pilot which we've just set up. So we've got Ryden, and we're doing Bokashi. And
I saw that on socials.
Got my compost crew, which I'm so proud of.
Brilliant.
They are super amazing. But what I loved about that was the kids drove that.
Yeah.
It wasn't the parents, it wasn't the adults, etc. And funny enough, then the adults were like, "Oh, that's actually quite a good thing."
Yeah.
So they're actually going through a bit of a change at the moment, where they had the Ryden, they're using Bokashi process. Obviously, we had a little bit of ick factor and etc. with the Bokashi, or just generally with food waste. That's now disappeared, which is lovely. The kids are now understanding that at some point they're going to be growing some food in it, which is really exciting. But actually, we've had a menu change. And what's happened is that we've got now more food waste going in, which is completely messed up the system.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting now, because this isn't to do with anything the school's doing or the kids. It's, again, something to do with budgets, etc. Not going to go into the whole politics because I don't know the whole thing, but it was interesting to see, how much that dynamic shifted. And it was actually the kids that messaged me and said, what can we do about it? And it's very hard when you're trying to provide, obviously, good facilities for kids to be able to grow with food, etc. And then obviously the change. And I think it's more to do with they're Hereford Council are trying to be more seasonal. And sometimes, kids just don't understand about, obviously growing things. And this is why I find it really interesting to see what you've done with your own kids to be seasonal. So if let's talk about, there's a lot of parents going to be watching this. How can we help parents with that change? With get them to understand that, strawberries don't grow all year round, because obviously, I mean, your kids still have interaction with other kids, that obviously have these, they would say you would say luxuries, they would say just regular food.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exemplifying it. So you've got to do it. So if you live seasonally, I mean, I wrote a little article not too long ago about this thing that gets said by a lot of farmers and growers. It's like, we're feeding the world, and it's like, well, you're not really, actually, and it's used sometimes in an argument for doing things at massive scale, monocultures and all these things. And actually, my perspective is, if we have local community farms everywhere, same applies to local community compost clubs everywhere dealing with the waste, right, and cycling that. We have everybody with access to really good quality, you get connected to the food production and all of that. And if everybody has one of those locally, that's the world fed locally and seasonally. It's much better than these big industrial things. It's not a GDP driver perhaps, but we need to come up with better ways of evaluating our performance as a species on a planet than GDP, because we're some places that's going up nicely, but in most meaningful ways things are going downward. So we need to reassess how we.
But I think if you look at kids, even if you went to a supermarket now, a kid then picks up a bag of carrots for 4p. I mean, a top tip is don't go to supermarkets, right? Well, I mean, I'm just going to say it.
We get our veg box delivered, and there's a local dairy up the road. I've connected with local farmers now, so we decided to set up a little fire pit and cook some burgers the other night. Well, we went and got them from a farm. We did a farm tour the other day. Their cattle, small head of cattle, outwintered, permanent pasture. They don't feed them stuff. They just eat the pasture, and they move them every day.
Yep.
Like, I know those people. I know the way they farm. I met those animals. Like, there's nothing better. Like, just connect to that.
And it is a hassle. So
it's not convenient. Yeah.
So my Saturday at the moment, I've now found. So I live in Taunton. I now found that there's a Plough Right Organics, which is in Neverstowe, which is the other side of the hill from where I live. It's 30 minutes away from where I live, but I now make a pact to myself that I will go into the farm shop. and I will pick whatever's there. And the veg boxes that could be delivered to my house have more variety. And I remember last week, because if you do watch this video, nothing against you, it's just obviously my interpretation of the whole situation. I just presumed in my head, like a supermarket, that this veg box, when I went to a farm shop, was going to be exactly the same as what I get. Funny enough, they've obviously filled them up with the good stuff, because they want that regular income coming in. And I sent a photo to my wife, and my wife was like, oh, so what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to just make do. And for the last week, in my head of making do, we've eaten Jerusalems, which I've never eaten before.
Oh, they're great.
Yes. I also wouldn't eat them in abundance, because I've now worked that one out. But you know, things like fennel, just things that I've maybe forgotten. But I now see it as a bit of not a challenge, but a responsibility for myself to just find other ways to cook things, because actually, I feel maybe again placebo effect. I feel better. Funny enough, when the sun comes out, everyone feels better as well.
Yeah, as you said it. Yeah,
yeah, as I said it. But actually, I feel that now that so on Saturday I'll be doing exactly the same thing. I definitely haven't wasted it so much, because I've really thought about what I'm going to eat. I've eaten less meat this week, which has been interesting, because I'm normally a very high carnivore diet, and I felt full, and less has gone into my food waste. Obviously, I Bokashi, but yeah, how, like, if you were going to give parents the tools of how to help in the kids, I think the takeaway really is take the kids to the farms, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I say we went to this farm tour. The kids came with us. They're very so we homeschool, we home ed, and we've got this really nice little community of people that we've met through doing that as well. So they get lots of social interaction. We have days where we all go out together. They go to a place called Stammer Organics. There's an earth ship in Brighton, and our friends run a thing there called Raising Resilience. So it's like they're permaculture. They're from the Brighton Permaculture Trust. So it's a permaculture forest school. So they go to that one day a week, and my wife, we were cutting back some trees and things that were kind of where the farm here has been neglected for quite a few years. There was like paths we couldn't get down, so we were clearing stuff. And then Cosmo, he's nearly 7. He's 6 years old. Obviously, just seeing her cutting this tree, she was just cutting it to get out of the way. But he was like, actually, if you cut it that way, you're leaving that tree open for disease. If you cut it this other way, he's been taught that already by this permaculture teacher. It's a beautiful thing. It's just very practical. That if he went to a normal school, he wouldn't know that.
No, but you also need to remember that I don't know how many people I view on some of my videos. I mean, some of them must be like 40, 50,000. Thank you, people. Or help us with the.
Oh, it's tough. It's not for everyone.
But it's not for everyone.
No.
I think that's the thing, is that there are so many things parents can do that can help educate the future. I mean, obviously, food waste is how we connected, and I felt when I realised that Bokashi was actually something that was quite useful for me. I found it useful because now I understand that we live in a society of abundance, and actually the value of my food waste it has a monetary value.
It's a resource, yeah.
And I'm going to put it out there. I've got friends that we've had meals with, and we've had a takeaway, etc. And they've literally just dumped that. Where do I put my food waste? And I'm looking at it thinking, dude, one, put it in the fridge. You can eat it tomorrow. It's fine. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, but it's not the same, is it? I said, well, no, it's not the same, but actually, it has some resources. You bought it, but also, what I love about the school that we're working with Wales is that I heard a kid tell another kid, not off, but educate, which was like just blew my mind. Of do you know what happens to that apple core?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Well, there's a bit before. I mean, because of the way we eat, we've started doing, not all the time, but enough that it's semi-regular enough that the kids understand what's going on. Before we eat, it's not like I'm not religious, but because we're eating these things that we've either foraged or produced locally and stuff, I realise that it was just like going through my own process just out loud. I was like, you know where these nettles came from? Well, Mummy went and got those, made like a pesto with it, right? So we could say, thanks for Mummy getting these nettles, but then we could say, thanks for the soil producing these. And you can kind of do that with, you know, thanks for the person that harvested this, the soil that came from, the farm there, and you can kind of go through that, and it really creates a connection to food production, people involved in that food production, and if you know specifically where it comes from, you kind of tell that little story.
Can you imagine a world where people would say thank you to the people that produce their food?
Yeah.
I mean,
we do. They're just not always present. Yeah,
please,
and ultimately and ultimately the soil, right? I mean, I being a soil nerd, I kind of went into the nutrient prevalence that meant the nettles were growing.
And why the nettles are growing there?
Exactly.
Because of
it, yeah.
It's interesting. So my background was I trained to become a primary school teacher, if you remember rightly.
I remember, yeah.
And COVID was a good time for me because I was able to stop, reset. I worked for many manufacturers over the years because I don't want to, cause an issue with the employees and employers that I've had over the years, because politely they've also fed and clothed me over the years. But I just felt that I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And when I was in the school environment, the reason why I'm not sat behind a desk in a primary school is because I just didn't agree with what was being said. And the homeschooling thing, it sounds really hippie, but there is a point now in my understanding of what society we live in, that we are so distant and disconnected, but the most connected than we've ever been. And even internally in our company, we're talking about AI, and we had a conversation, actually, funny enough, before we came on camera about I don't feel that AI is going to go away. There is going to be a point where actually, hopefully, it will help us be able to build and understand a bit more about soil. But I feel that people are probably very scared of that because we're the generation of analog to digital.
It's such a transition. I was explaining that because my wife's a little younger than me, and even in that gap, there's a different perception of that change.
Yeah, and you imagine kids now, but what I felt was difficult was that COVID times we didn't really have much AI kind of conversation, but afterwards it became this big thing. And my worry is, as a parent, I mean my daughter's now 28. My worry is what skill sets are we actually giving those kids for the future?
Yeah.
Because most things, as you know, I've written a book, Compost Companion. I did use AI, and people go, well, you shouldn't have used AI. But in this environment, we can talk and we can be geeky, etc. But I genuinely have dyslexia, so for me, putting stuff on paper was just really difficult. But I just felt that I wanted to do something to give this back. But I just, it's probably a little bit off topic, but I'd love to know your thoughts on kind of AI and that. I know it's quite a difficult one to because we don't know everything yet. But
I don't know whether it's got the right name, because I don't know that it's intelligence. It's just very fast processing information. And I've been saying for years, we live in a world of we live in an age of information, and I think what it's doing is it's doing things very quickly. For me, it's always seemed obvious in conversation with people, if something comes up and we get to a point, I don't know, or someone says something and I'm not sure, I think it's this, I'll just go blop blop blop, it's that. It just makes sense to me to do that. The amount of conversations even now that I sit in with people and there's just these mysteries to them, and I'm just like, you get my phone, it's like, we can solve
the only
this.
problem you have with, and this is what I found, so Bokashi is a very good
a lot of interpretations,
and etc. I felt like...
Well, AI's not... I've dabbled with it, and I've asked it things, and it's got things wrong.
Yeah.
And then I say, isn't it this? And then it'll go, oh, yes. Scanning resources. Oh, yes, you're right, it's that. And it's like, so it's not like 100%, it's not a silver bullet thing. So I don't use it widely.
But, and the reason why...
But I guess it's evolving, right?
Yeah, it is evolving. And I think the reason why I asked this question was because, we were obviously talking about the kids and the tools. that growing food thing seems like a natural circle back to evolution, really, of how we are as humans. Because realistically, if robots and AI is going to do all the thinking for us, then what's going to be left for us to do? And I feel that preserving what nature already has, says the bird song in the background, that's something that can't be digitalised, I don't feel.
I think it needs to be viewed and used as a tool, a very useful tool. I think it would be a dangerous thing to start letting it do our thinking. We're at the moment here trialling a kind of an analysis on the soil where they're going to be doing eDNA, biology, mineral, nutrient, all the stuff, structure, all of that. And then what it does, and you can do that throughout the site, telling it the thing, it basically has an inbuilt AI that all that information gets fed into, so you have a site-specific AI that knows everything about your soil composition and what the history of the site is, what you intend it to be, and you can basically play out scenarios with it, or you can ask it, why do I have a prevalence of this, or whatever. For me, that's very useful, so I'm prepared to do that. But what I wouldn't want to do is go design our farm management plan and then I just do it. That would, or get a robot that does it. That would feel a bit too disconnected. So I think there's a balance to be had with it. We still need to have purpose and make decisions. I mean, there's argument that we don't make the best decisions right now. So we can be better informed. I think we should still make the decisions, but have a better informed decision-making process. And like on the kid thing, I mean, the education system we have now was built for like an industrial revolution. The jobs that existed that legitimised that system of education don't exist now. I've got a younger brother who's like half my age. I've just turned 40. He's about to turn 21. And the reality that he lives in is not one where he'll ever own a house or there are good career opportunities. There's none of that. So I think that there is an opportunity to reconnect younger people and show a purpose beyond that materialist social norm thing, because that doesn't exist anymore for them. Someone was talking to me about this vandalism that was going on in Brighton. I was saying, I kind of get it, actually. Like, I don't support it, of course, but like, if you've got no sense of like optimism or purpose or hope or connection, burn the place down. Like, what else? So we need to replace the old narrative whereby, it used to be you work hard, you get on in life. Well, now you work hard. It doesn't matter how hard you work, really.
And I'm trying to remember who was the person in the 1940s who created the 9-to-5 working week. But I was told by someone that it was designed enough to make you knackered enough to want to then have to reset on the Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, you need to
then go again. And
before that, people just worked all the time. Of course, there was no such thing as a weekend.
I know, but that's the thing, is that we've created this 9-to-5 society. Even in my own job role, that flexibility of working out of hours, etc., has been a challenge. Because my company has been going since 2004, so it's been a very interesting transition. Obviously, today's been beautiful and it's nice, but I had to obviously drive up last night, etc. But that flexibility gives me more want to do these things than just go, your hours are not to that. But if you then look at kids and obviously what they're now going into, there is I know it's the persona of I'm going to be a tip-top, famous person, etc., millions. But I feel that as a society, we could have an opportunity here to really think about how we reset that system. Yeah, and
I think money has become the value instead of so it's same with nature. I speak to people at the moment and they talk about like nature capital. We've got to attribute monetary values to a bumblebee or a lake or a fish or a plant or whatever, and it feels very strange to me. And he was like, but if we don't do that, people won't value it, and that feels so mad. It just highlights how wrong we've got. Like, money presumably came about to represent the inherent value of a commodity or a nature or a bit of labour, whatever it was, and we've kind of forgotten that, and now money is the thing of value, and we exploit people's labour and resources in service to getting more money, where it should just be that the money is representative of that value. So it's like, how much do I value this person and their time, or this plant, or this habitat, and the value should be determined on how much it's valued, that the money should determine. But it's the other way. It's like this weird, money's become the value, the valuable thing. And like I said to somebody,
don't get me wrong, we all have to feed ourselves.
Oh no, for sure. I just think we need
still
to.
has to have some.
I think I'd love to see a different way of looking at things and different systems that reflect that way of looking at things, because it's not good. It's not a good thing that's going on. This weird obsession with numbers. I said to somebody that natural systems, us being part of that, are just inherently real and have real value if you depending on how you look at it. If you were to, like, the way that we govern ourselves and organise our society is in service to things that aren't tangibly real. Like, if you were to forget systems of government, society structures, religion, financial structures, if we were all to have this collective amnesia, they literally wouldn't exist, because they're in our heads, and we have, like, mostly plastic cards now, or apps. It's not really physical money anymore, is it? But they just represent a thing. But if we forget what they represent, they're just kind of, there's no inherent value in it.
The whole thing about skill sharing and giving that kind of as a currency, I still feel. I mean, most people probably watching this, will think, "Oh, that sounds very hippie," but
way down the wormhole.
Way down the wormhole. But I over the years have gained very good friends from just being able to transfer skills. And I think, for the future, I feel that those value should be a better exchange than, we are humans, so we have to feed, clothe, provide. But actually we just need to think about, like, that £5 note only has a value of what society tells us it is. Someone said to me recently that, a pint I used to be able to buy, back in 1999, way back in the day, you used to be able to buy 2 pints easily for £5.
Yeah.
And, on the weekend when I was buying a beer, it was £6 or £7. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, stuff behind the scenes that has created that. But actually, if we want to try and evolve and become a better system, we just need to create more value of what that pint represents. And as I do feel that in this environment I can have this conversation, but some of my friends probably will be watching this going, mine, wow, never knew that was that kind of thing. Just to make you aware, that's what I think of when we're having a pint together. But I think if we can help society to create that, obviously with the farming side, I think that's going to make a difference, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't just turn it all off, so there's got to be a transition, but so it'll kind of be, I think, we just need things to change quite radically, but softly, I think. But we basically got lost, like, we've gone too far down a road without enough kind of, people don't like to talk about regulation, but just like, without limits, and the systems we've got in place, particularly in finances, like, without regulation, it just becomes too concentrated. It's like kind of sick, the amount of money that some people have, and because they're aware of the situation we're in, they just build bunkers or try and terraform other planets. Like, that's indicative of their ideas. So we need, there's the whole thing about, like, we need more, tackle wealth inequality with, like, these tax the rich things, and it's like, well, that will kind of address the balance, but the systems will still be there, and they're still experts at extracting wealth from other people's work and other people's and other resources that are just, I believe in, like, a commons in terms of resources. It's not like these are mine, everybody else get lost. Like, it's, like you said, like, sharing is a really good thing. We teach it to kids, and like I said, like, kids don't learn from what you say, they learn from what you do, right? I mean, the best gift you can give your children, because everybody wishes for their kids to live out their dreams.
And be decent human beings.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, the best thing is, the best way to make that happen is to live out your dreams as a parent. because you show them that that's possible. Don't try and get them to live out their dreams while you're just like slaving away or whatever you're doing. You need to be exemplifying that. And so live out your dreams. It's all possible. It's all there for you.
Well, I mean, my dream was not. my dream was being a teacher. But before that, probably in my 20s and 30s, it was very difficult because money was a driver for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I just come from a poor background.
Yeah, I was saying that it was for me.
It was just, that was my only driver because I just didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I have an addictive processing. I'm very, very aware of that. So if someone gives me a little bit of leeway, and I'll go for it. But what I noticed with my corporate background was that it was never enough. It was just never enough.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting a little bit older.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And I found that actually what is a value to me is more about the education, the understanding of, that you are enough, or you can be enough. But actually that's a very difficult thing for parents and etc. to go through. So talking about the Compost Club and obviously the food waste conversation, how we got involved. So what's the situation with Compost Club at the moment?
So because I've moved it here to the farm, it's a little bit further. So, I mean, I guess I could say how it works really, and that will kind of be more more context for it. So it's a circular economy in action. So the first waste we intercept are the buckets that we collect the food waste in. They used to get thrown away. Big 30-litre sealable buckets, great for Bokashi because they seal. And we have a second-hand electric van that we were doing food waste collections in. We now here have a system whereby we charge that van from sun. So we don't have, it's a completely off-grid system. We don't have mains power, we don't have mains water. We collect rainwater and we charge things up from the sun if we need electricity. But mostly it operates on a human scale, which is important because we are humans and we need important connected work to do. So it does that, it ticks that box. Everything we use, every resource is somebody else's waste. So food waste, tree surgeon wood chips, and we, using natural processes, mostly microbiological, we can, like I say, I don't do the composting, I just create the conditions that allows the decomposition to happen naturally, and that means that what we produce is a product which is very much alive and diverse in biology, which is really what you want to be getting into your soils. So that's what it does. I was going around every on a 3-weekly cycle for households, come in, collect their food waste bucket, leaving them a clean one, because one of the reasons that even now that councils are collecting food waste, some people still don't want it. They don't like the dirty, smelly thing. So we were just like, well, I'll just leave you a clean one. I'll deal with that.
But also it's beautifying.
Also that, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so then we were giving members a little sort of hummus pot size of Bokashi brand, so they're adding that in, so that means it doesn't smell too unpleasant. It means that it's pre-digesting while they've got it, and that's why we were able to do a 3-weekly collection. Also, opposite to what the councils say, like they want people to use those bags. Well, we found those bags don't
horrendous.
they don't actually decompose, and people tie them up, so you end up with these anaerobic putrid sacks. Don't get me started. So, I mean, the whole compostable industry is a bit of a greenwashing nonsense. Yeah, there's a very few things that actually do break down properly in a very rigorous. So our system is we ferment food waste, we blend it with biochar and wood chips. It gets to 60, 65 degrees for 3 weeks, just naturally. We're not heating it. The microbes do that. Then it matures in big bays called Johnson Sioux bioreactors, passive aeration, allowing for mycelium to spread without getting chopped up. Minimum 14 weeks. We introduce composting worms, so it's kind of like all the effective composting systems, one after the other, and I found the more diverse the inputs, the more diverse the system, the more diverse the biology. So that's how lots of trial and error to get to that thing. Took a few years of experimenting what to do, in which orders, and a lot of the stuff through all of that is still there. And then I've got my mother piles that are like 2 years old, and a lot of the stuff is still there. So I just had to say, we don't want that stuff, bar like 1 or 2 specific. So 2 Farmers Crisps, UK company, those packets actually break down in that system. Great. all these cups leave like ghost cups, or had beef with what they called bright pink coffee pods. They do not break down. They just become small bits of pink plastic all over the place. It's a nightmare.
And this is, I hear, so I've been involved in some interesting meetings with DEFRA, etc., about composting standards.
Just needs proper regulation.
And this is the thing, is that this is not me saying there shouldn't be any, because there definitely should be.
Yeah.
But because they are being dictated by manufacturers, obviously with a loss of clout, and when it comes to, back to money side again, we're missing the point that just because something becomes smaller and smaller and smaller doesn't mean it won't have a dramatic impact.
Sometimes it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's actually worse.
I think they did a study not too long ago looking at human testicles, and they didn't find one that didn't have microplastics in it. Right?
My word.
So great. We can't see it. It's gone. Oh no! Look, it's in our testicles. It's not gone. It's a whole thing.
I was talking to some compost systems, because
I thought it was the end of the sentence. I was talking some compost. That's I do that.
No, we were talking about, like, things like corn bags, and they call it contamination, like, because they still see it as a negative, and they go, well, the only thing we can do is we'll just increase the temperature.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
yeah, they just absolutely burn it. I mean, the PAS 100, the compost regs, you need it 60 degrees or above, and that's the problem, or above. They don't have an upper limit, and so it's why a lot of commercial compost is black, because it's literally burnt.
And it doesn't smell of anything.
It doesn't smell of anything, or it sometimes smells like oil, but it becomes hydrophobic because they essentially caramelize that carbon structure. Microbes, so it becomes like a creme brulee, and microbes don't have spoons. They can't get in it, and that's why it goes hydrophobic, and that's why it creates nutrient lockup and stuff. And we're seeing what Ian Tolhurst calls like soil obesity, in that a lot of these no-dig beds and gardeners have been going on long enough now that they just keep chucking that stuff on.
Yeah, because
it starts well, and then they put more and more on, and it starts getting worse and worse, and they go, oh, what's wrong? Well, adding the compost work, we'll put more on, and it becomes a nightmare. And the amount of plastic in that stuff, because not only do they shred up, there's no good tech solution to get the plastic out of these green waste sites, so there might be a guy with a hook on the stick pulling some out, and the bits they don't get, the first step is the shredder with all the other materials. So you've got now smaller bits of plastic, and then they whack up the heat. So not only is there plastic in it, which is a problem, it's now leaching. I mean, I've been emailing MPs for months, maybe even over a year now, saying this food waste collecting thing you're saying we've got to do now is a ticking time bomb. Because already with the few councils that have been collecting it, Lewis being one, and that's where Compost Club was, it's a bit of an irony in that, they say on the website it goes to local farms. Well, having spoken to a lot of farmers, they will not take it for free. They used to get it for 50 pence per tonne, which is basically giving it away, but there had to be some sort of exchange. They can't give it away. And that was when only a few councils were doing it, because what they're doing, I wrote a piece and talking about it being institutionalised greenwashing, because I wanted to fire some shots. But like, we're telling people this is a really good thing, green incentive, it's going into field. They're using all this resource and all this energy and turning it from one waste into another. Because if no one wants it, it's still waste, and it's so badly done.
And this is the other thing. So anaerobic digesters are now becoming a very hot topic. I'm using LinkedIn as a little bit of shots flyer, because I've had enough now. I've been.
My filter's gone.
I've been at that point where, don't get me wrong, I appreciate we do need electricity. Like, it's not. There
are far better ways to do it.
There are definitely far better ways of generating electricity, and I think this anaerobic digestate. That's past 110 for everyone that doesn't know what.
Or gas. We're creating green gas is the other thing.
We're taking putrefied food waste, we're putting it into an anaerobic digester, and that's then creating obviously our electricity, and then
digestate and leachate also it creates.
Yeah, and we forget about this bit, and then I get a lot of anaerobic digester companies saying, well, yeah, it's got loads of NPK in it, and it's like, and this is. My education really kind of started with my tomato grow bag era. So every year I'd buy my tomato plants from my neighbour who's probably doing it right, cut the plastic and shove my tomatoes, And you know, if I was lucky, I'll get some tomatoes out of it. But I never really thought about like what happens afterwards. And what does happen, if anyone, and I'd love to be proven wrong with this, you try growing anything then onto that, because NPK, so the building blocks of what we understand with photosynthesis, we forget about the chemical, physical, and biological side, and that really is an important thing. So you know, we just need to think about food waste, you know, as a resource. Now, I know I'm going to do the corny thing, obviously, Bokashi, etc., blah blah, but I do feel that in my perfect world, let's give people the tools. So let's educate. You know, these are gardeners are bringing in compost, and they have this food waste. And you know what I love about,
well, not just food waste. Like, you know, if you've got to coppice some trees and mow some grass, this is all green material as well.
all resources.
Some people pay to get that stuff taken away, and then they buy back compost.
I mean, we laugh about it, but actually, unfortunately, society has told us that's the best thing we can do.
Well,
but
it's got to be tidy.
It's got to be tidy. So, yeah, definitely the education with Bokashi green waste compost, which we'll do. We're doing a video here actually to do a bit of education.
Looking forward to it.
It's going to be an interesting thing because it's very rustic. And I'm gonna name drop Sophie from Chatsworth House. Chatsworth House, a stately home, etc. She is growing some amazing floral display. She works in the florist area, but she's had to educate a lot about the nutrient cycling and the rustic side of the Bokashi process. But actually, you know, going back to the councils, why don't we just give councils, you know, an education piece of, let's give those residents money back. Let's not charge them for food waste, but you have to do it safely. Obviously, I appreciate there has to be police, etc. That's quite a hard thing for social change to happen. But if we could give people Bokashi,
Well, if you opt in and it's elective, then you're only going to get the right people. It's one of the things about Compost Club. People would say, how come you don't get all the plastic contamination? It's like, well, because I care, and the people that sign up care. Or there's a dialogue there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I had feedback from people that said they're not just, like, they reduced their food waste by seeing how much they produce was the first thing that happened.
because it's got a monetary value.
Yeah, but then because they bought that stuff. But also, one of them said to me once, they completely changed the way they consume, the way they shop, because they're suddenly becoming very aware of these things and the impacts that it can have. Because I kind of, you know, I communicate with people. I don't just turn up, take their waste away, and that's the end of it. You know, some of them really like quite a nice long chat, and it's part of the job for me. So that was nice, and it's again, it's like if you show people, like if you see it, you can be it, right? So if you show people a way of doing things that makes sense economically, ecologically, socially, no one in their right mind doesn't want some of that.
Yeah. But it's the out of sight, out of mind culture that we.
Well, throw it away. There's no such thing as away. That's
Throw away.
the first thing.
Where's away?
There's no away, right? There's only here. So we need to just. I mean, in all natural systems outside of our own, all that goes on is energy moves from one thing to another thing.
Yep.
And it sounds quite woo to people, but it's actually rooted in science. It's observational. Like, you know, I'm this for a while, but this carbon structure that's me has been here forever. Carbon doesn't go anywhere, it just transforms. Energy just transforms. So I love the idea that a bit of this used to be a dinosaur's egg or tooth once. Now it's me for a little while, and it'll be something else. I mean, it's quite playful. I'm toying with, you know, people have asked me if I could compost them when they die. This guy had a bad heart. If I'd compost him, I was like, my composting is far too hands-on to be getting involved in human remains. But this thing that I call carbon remains.
Yeah.
So we already burn bodies, because we don't have regulations for human composting here, but we already burn bodies.
Yes, and please.
Oh, well, that's changing. That is changing.
We are.
Yeah, it is changing.
We want to be involved in that. Definitely.
No, it is changing. I spoke to a local crematorium about this, and I thought they'd think I was insane, and they were like, we got to get together and for a chat. So carbon remains, we basically change the way we burn people, and we burn them to biochar. Because when people scatter ashes around plants in water, it's toxic for the plant and the water, right?
This will make you laugh.
Biochar cleans it.
So this will make you laugh. So I'm going to say an ex-work colleague, because I won't name her, messaged one of my other colleagues and said, can I, one of my relatives has passed away, has been cremated. I know that I shouldn't put it on the plant, but can I do some kind of Bokashi system, etc.? And I was like, well, not really, because it's still ash.
Yeah.
You can't really Bokashi it, but you could make some soil and add it to that and feed the microbiology before you put it on the plant, possibly.
Yeah. You can just use a small amount of it.
But that makes sense, because actually biochar would definitely help it.
And then we upsell as well, because we make glass urns, and they're called urns to die for. Right? I mean, I've got a whole thing. I said it came up with it in jest, and I've talked to people about it in jest. Half the people laugh, and half the people come up to me later and say, "So that's genius. We've got to do that, right? A carbon negative funeral service. It addresses the problem that we're running out of space to put bodies."
Just a reminder, algorithms, etc. This was the first conversation.
Yeah, I've not said it publicly out there. I've said it publicly in talks, but not out on the internet yet. So that's my idea.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. It just needs to happen.
But we need someone to guide this. This is the thing. But this is going back to the whole thing about councils and that kind of food waste. That we see a dead body. It's dead. It's gone, etc. But actually, it's the same with any resource, really. So
yeah, it just needs to be cycled responsibly.
Yeah.
Into a positive thing, and we are the keystone species, so we can determine a lot of these things. So if we just decide we've got to recycle energy responsibly into something that regenerates, then once we make the decision, it's easy. But we don't do that yet.
So if you were going to help councils with this food waste conversation,
I've tried.
Okay, I know, but I've tried as well. But we need to. There needs to be a value to it. So in my head, the perfect scenario is your stage one is you give someone the tools, and I've got to be honest, Bokashi does fit that very well.
Yeah.
You give them the tools to be able to ferment their food waste at home. They can make a little soil factory. Hopefully they'll want to grow things because they'll see a value in it, and we can put it back into soil safely.
Yeah.
Step two is a compost club system where I want to be involved in it.
Yeah.
I still want a bit of discount on it.
Or whatever.
I haven't got space, etc. And that compost then comes back to that resident. Step three is then I've got so much compost, I don't know what to do with it, and we can now start growing as a community and grow food, etc. In that abundance, etc.
And the value in it is coming. Like I said earlier, like the bionutrient meters and things like that. Like we know that the only thing that correlates with more nutrients in food, whether it's a carrot or a cow, is the life in the soil. Like I say to people, you are a direct reflection of the life in the soil that your food grew in or grazed on. And it's massive. 40 times antioxidants, for example, 20 times polyphenols, that gives it flavour and taste. That was in carrots, but they found it in beef. They're doing it across the board, different things now. And these little meters will be calibrated on those results. And so the consumer will have them soon enough. So there will be economic incentive to produce food in biologically alive and diverse soils. It just isn't there at the moment. But those that are clever, anybody watching, listening to this now, those that are clever will start.
We have the resources, we have the tools. There are people, not just us, we have the network out there to do this.
Yeah. Soil first farming. It just has to be the way. It addresses carbon sequestration. It produces nutrient dense food. It means that, there's savings in that if we're sick less, there's less NHS cost, right? It's all obvious. Life starts from the ground up, and in fact, it just cycles through it. Everything that has cycled through the soil in innumerable times.
So you'll probably see both of us. Both of us are big ambassadors. Just remember this, all right?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Got to be connected to the ground.
But I suffer from arthritis myself. It's hereditary. It's always going to be with me. My mum gave up. She, funny enough, when she did her 40s, society was going to be able to pay her enough to survive. Very, I wouldn't say live, but for her that was fine. And she just saw it as a potential of giving up, really. And it's funny because now I'm at that point where I know it's here, I feel it. That earthing and that grounding is becoming so important to me because actually it helps with my own health. But I also know that, and this is where I say this to myself, is that I'm trying to wean myself off supermarkets. It's been a very hard journey. I'm in a good job. I do have a bit more money than I did 20 years ago, and I've been able to potentially do it. But I also now see the value of growing things, but I also don't have the time to do it. So my resource back to society is giving people the tools, so that every so
they
often
can grow useful veg. Yeah. Well, no, absolutely. I mean, we can't all do everything, so it's finding what is fulfilling to you personally, what is useful. I mean, you know the term ikigai?
No.
Ikigai is like where you can be of service, what you enjoy doing, what you can make a living from, and these circles sort of overlap. And if you can find the thing that satiates all these circles in the middle, that's ikigai. And I remember years and years ago sharing on social media that graphic, and in the middle I just put the Compost Club logo. In fact, I didn't even have a logo then, just Compost Club I wrote, and that was it for me. That was where I could try and make some money, I could be of service to the greater thing, and I enjoy doing it, like being connected and having purpose.
So I've just unfortunately wasn't successful for a funding. I was going to say the funding group, but just in case I won't. And the feedback was that there wouldn't be enough interaction. It was. God, I've got to be very careful how I put this. But the be all and end all was that we were trying to nationalise this Compost Club.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this regularly about how we do this, and I still feel that there is scope for this.
Just repackage it around their feedback.
And
we've had a similar, probably the same thing, and got some really good feedback, repackaged it, and it's gone back in.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. So if people are watching this video and are really interested in composting, between myself and yourself and the network we've created around us, we will give you the tools. We will find you. If you've got the wants.
Intention and determination.
Yeah, we will find you the resources to do it, because actually the feedback, because the funding was millions, and we aimed high. we were like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
But actually what I've now created is this amazing network of people that still believe it's the right way of doing stuff. So watch your space, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I say that when I've shown people the design for the farm here, they go, where are you going to get the funding from? And I say, well, we're putting in funding bids. If we get the money, we'll do it very quickly. If we get smaller amounts of money or no money, we're doing it anyway. We're just doing it every day, a bit at a time. And actually, it would be quite overwhelming in terms of the farm, from my perspective, if someone said, here's a couple of £1 million.
Because you wouldn't know what, yeah.
What I'd need to do is like get a load of people on board, which we kind of want to do naturally and organically, community-wise, rather than just like, here's your job, here's your job, here's your job. Becoming a business, obviously you need to run things and it needs to be equitable for people, but find a more holistic way of doing that. And if you do that gradually, that happens. So
I need to give back as well, because this is a two-way conversation. So you're creating me some content, which is lovely, and obviously we'll do some filming, obviously of the Bokashi pile, and hopefully in the future we'll see what the results are. If I'm now looking at my network, because this is why I do this, is what do you need?
Here?
Yeah.
I mean, we recently did a tree planting day where it was beautiful actually, just put it out there to our kind of community. We've got this hedgerow going in, it's fairly late, but it wasn't bare rooted, they're fine, we just got to keep an eye on them, it's drought at the minute, so we've got a soaker hose on the way today, just to put in temporarily. But to create a kind of nature corridor, but also multiple benefits with it really. It's designed on contour, so I go across with a laser, so it's like wobbly and curves off and stuff. So a lot of people that wouldn't make sense to, but there's method in it. Put it out there. We had 15 people in total by the end of the day, but at the beginning, 10 people. We went up to the pole barn there, and I said, right, before I go too deep, who's planted a tree before? And everyone's no one had planted a tree before. And by the end of it, we planted hundreds, really well. Like, they were brilliant. They were actually too efficient. I couldn't keep up with strimming. back the thatch in the grass to open up the space for them. More streaming. So I spent the day just running around rather than planting many trees myself, but facilitating that for people. And like people want to come back, so we want to do much more tree planting. We need to fund buying the trees and then putting them in. So there's kind of opportunity to come and get involved. But if people want to fund stuff, there's that. We're about to hopefully set up a fundraising, I won't say what it is yet, but a fun fundraising in order to clean up this polluted lake, because what goes on upstream, I mean, I use this as a perfect example of demonstrating that if this current thinking around rewilding is it's good, and if you remove human beings, nature recovers, is what it can strengthen.
COVID was a good example of that.
Yeah, right, and it does happen, but what it means is people are going, well, if we intensively farm over here and then we spare nature here, that's the trade-off. Well, upstream they're doing what you might call intensive farming, and down here there was ecosystem restoration. Because of gravity and rain, that contaminant killed the lake. So what happens on intensive farms doesn't stay there. And there's an impact even as their soil degrades, water cycles, it impacts everything. Nothing exists in isolation. So we need to, it's not really the clunky terms, but some people call it ag-rewilding or restoration agriculture. We need to improve the ecosystem and produce the food and fibre that we need, and produce the fun and the community engagement and the activity for human beings all at the same time. That's what we want to create here. So I think I look very defensive when I looked at, but I wanted to stop you there because yeah, go on.
Obviously, people around this area are going to be watching this.
Yeah. Well, we do it very openly.
And
we want people with us.
I want to emphasise to anyone that's watching this is that you are open to conversation. Like you want. You
could probably tell by now if you've got this far in this video.
If you've got this far in this video, I think you probably want to have a conversation with Michael if you are local. But please, we are here to support and support the understanding of what's going on, because it's not that you've done something wrong. You didn't see the impact of what happened, and so Andrew, my boss, now lives very close to the Wye River, which has probably had the biggest publicity ever, etc. But we live in this blame culture. It's your fault. But someone has to take responsibility for it, for us to move forward. And the reason why I kind of stopped you there was because I want you to have an opportunity to tell people, it's okay. We have to start somewhere. But the education is important, because moving forward, we want things to work together. Yeah. But there's a value in what they're doing upstream as well as downstream, because if you're helping that ecosystem up there, it will help this ecosystem down here, but it will also work up the other way as well. Yeah. Like I say, separateness is an illusion. It's all interconnected. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a big believer in you meet people where they're at. So we have a very diverse offering already. You can come and camp here. You can come and help farming here. We've got a microbrewery down at the barn there, and there's a tap room in the barn. So we have tap room afternoons. We've got a projector and a big screen. We have film nights. We have a stage with a piano. We have music nights. We do little supper clubs. So there's all sorts of stuff that hopefully the idea is if we can gauge as diverse a kind of community, we bring them in softly into what we're doing. So I don't bang on people's doors going, oh, we got to fix the world. We're going to ecosystem restoration, food production, food waste, all this stuff. I just go, come and watch a film and have a beer. And then we have a chat. And then people go, I mean, I made a new website, and we've got now what I'm calling our stickiness, because this has been happening for years here. The farm's relatively new, but everybody that comes here, I never knew this was here. People from around the corner, because they just go, oh, it's just a fishery. So now people look on our website and they're coming here and they're going, we didn't know this was here, we want to get involved. Or they come to a film screening, but then they go, oh, can I volunteer and help do that? And so we've got this interest now that we've not had. So it's kind of maintaining that, increasing that, and just kind of, as I've said a few times, just kind of living and working in service. And it's not a personal thing. This isn't my project. This is a project
it's for whoever wants to come and get involved. So it's very intentionally community-led in its structure. So it's a kind of, we're looking at maybe community land trust or community interest company or whatever as its holding for the farm at the top there. The lake is a community interest company, so none of it's for profit. It's all for all the other things that are real. So yeah, people can kind of engage in it in all sorts of ways. Whether it's
it doesn't have to be.
Whatever.
It doesn't have to be one of. It could be a mixture of everything.
Yeah. There is a local funding organisation, like a charitable trust, that came just for a look around, and by the end of it, they were like, "We want to support this, but like, could we? What they'd like? They've got like 50 partners that they support financially, I suppose, and so what they want to do is they will fund the trees and the facilitating of the day, but all those partners can come for a day. We'll do like a lunch in the barn and we'll all go up into the land and plant a tree each. One of the things we want to get going is a community orchard that's kind of run, harvested for and by the community on the land here. There's a thing called We Grow that a friend of ours runs, and they have this project called A Corner of a Farmer's Field. So you basically give them access to land. They set up a local community group. Here we're looking at targeting home ed groups, and they come. They set up a veg plot. They have somebody that does that every week with them, and then it becomes every other week, and then every month, and then they just run the thing themselves, and they grow and produce their own fruit and veg together. So you said some of the landowners say like leave us a veg box or whatever. We're just like, we've got the space and we want people to come and make it productive, but as I say, restoring the ecosystem as well, because you can do both.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is you are contactable.
Very much so.
Very much so, yeah. So where would people find all this information?
So if you Google Compost Club comes up. If you Google Furnace Brook, the farm here and the lake comes up. If you're an internet person, Instagram, I quite enjoy Instagram. So my handle's compost_Michael or compost_club. There's also one for the community farm, which is Melora Farm, Melora Community Farm. Furnace Brook has one. So that's Instagram and Facebook, those sort of socials. Usual places really. But the best way is to just come here.
I was just going to say, for our generation, it's nice bit of analog interaction.
Yeah. I mean, nothing beats. I mean, as I say, Di brews the beer here, and there's every season there's a new seasonal. So there's like a dark ale. There's an amber, which is sort of in between, and then there's a pale, and those are like the staples. There's a seasonal one, and at a certain point in the season, because we grow some hops here, so we should do a green hop beer, which is grown here. Nice. And because we brew it ourselves, serve it ourselves, we don't have to use all those preservatives and whatnot as well. So it's like, it's a beer you can feel good, and it does feel good having, instead of like, whatever, preservatives, whatever. So come and have a beer and a chat is the best way. And we do a monthly tour around the farm now as well. So we started doing that last month. So we've got like mob grazing goats that are moving their little paddock across the field. So they're managing our thistles that we've got, because there's been so much compaction and mineral imbalances. We have thistles. So the goats, it's not a waste, it's not a problem, it's food for the goats. And they turn that into, because they're ruminants, they turn that into soil fertility and biology. So that's a good thing. We've got chicken tractor. We've got some Indian runner ducks incubating at the moment. We're working on, if someone's a market gardener, we want a market gardener here. Maybe someone can run their own enterprise here. At the moment, we're kind of scrambling around trying to get that set up and produce some fruit and veg.
So they're definitely out there, I'm sure there's
we're creating space for a rural resilient enterprise hub. So if you want to come and keep bees, if you want to, I don't know, we don't even know, we don't presume to know what it all is going to look like, but we can make
but
space.
You're open to suggestions and ideas, aren't you?
100%.
Yeah.
We want people to come and find what lights them up.
Yeah.
Create a space where that is not just encouraged, but like supported. So what we don't want to do is go, here's the rent. You're starting up, you can't afford this rent. You come here, get it going. And as and when it starts to work for you, maybe you feed in and we work in a symbiosis together.
Yeah.
But we just want to create the space for creative, productive, nature-connected people to come and work together here.
I wouldn't be sat here, and you're gonna blush when I say it, without meeting you a couple of years ago.
Really?
Because you were you and a couple of us were catalysts to my understanding of what I wanted out of my life, and without and it was more to do with this whole energy thing, and we'll try not to get too hippie about the energy side, but the be all and end all, we all know that positive energy will attract positive energy.
For sure.
And one thing, even since I've been sat here and interviewing you today, was that energy is always, there has to be a catalyst. And for you, and a thing that I take pride in saying, you have given people, a lot of people that I know, the tools and understanding that there can be change and it can be positive. And for anyone out there that's kind of lost or kind of finding a direction, we need people to be able to do that. Luckily, I now have the strength to be able to do this. So people come to me, and yes, we are, we are definitely creating more energy out there. And I just wanted to emphasise that if someone's watching this video and thinking, I don't know, I don't know if I've got the guts to do it, just have a chat with us.
My number's out there. Like, if you go on Compost Club, that's my phone number.
Yeah.
So, just give me a call. I'll have a chat. You can tell. There is space for everybody. It's just, everyone wants to live connected and have purpose, right? And so it's just where you derive that is different for different people. But
so we'll end the video there, and it's over to you guys.
See you at the farm.
See you at the farm.